You have been invited for an interview and you have the job spec with you already. So the first thing you need to do, you need to look at what are these key skills that are expected from this job that I've been invited for. And those things are usually laced within the job description. And if you look closely, you'll be able to identify the critical skills required for that job role. And you need to focus your star story, your car story. Star is what people talk about most of the time. So, and you need to structure those stories like what is the situation, what is the task that I'm supposed to do, what are the action I did, what were the results that I got. So this person is now saying you need to craft 10 to 15 concise stories, 2 to 3 minutes max for each of them. You see now, that demonstrate those skills. So this is now a homework for you. You just sit around, identify 10 stories in your life from what you have done in the past. After identifying these stories, for me, I want to add another thing to this now. I want to add 80-20 rule. Out of these 10, do your elimination. Which amongst these 10 or 15 stories that I know if I use it in my interviews, it will give me the 80% of result I'm looking for, right? If I identify them, I'll make my story very strong. You know why you are doing that? That story, it becomes yours. Once it becomes yours, you can tweak this story because every story have different dimension to it, just like a market. You can come through the front door, side door, back door, whatever door you can come in. So that is how your story is like. And those stories, they are interlinked. There are some small projects you've done at your workplace that enabled you to bring up a particular skill. So write this story down, pen them down. You see, in this structure, situation, task identified, action taken, result from it. Example, there was a time that the management has identified that we need to do asset refresh program in our organization. Being a security architect, I was asked to manage this project. Because I was asked to manage this project, what did I do? Try to understand the ramification. After understanding the ramification, I came up with a list of tasks that need to be performed to deliver this project. So the tasks were about 10. After identifying this task, I found who and what will I need to deliver these tasks. After identifying them, having a meeting with them, agreeing what will be the outcome with respect to each of these tasks, and see how we can do that with the current state of resource usage. Eventually, we agreed on dates and time of deliveries. Then we swung into actions. In the action timeline, it occurred to us there are some emergencies that came into play that affected our timelines. I have to work with the resources and their managers to ensure that the assets that were transiting from their current out-of-date versions to the new versions were identified and be able to know whether we need outside resources like contractors to help us to deliver. Because after updating the system, I need to ensure that they do vulnerability assessment as well. After the vulnerability assessment, agreeing with the validation before I ask for pen testing to be carried out. So after performing these actions with pen testing results, I look at the result, outcome of the result, and see how we can clear these weaknesses, mitigate them where we cannot, find some compensating controls to reduce our exposure to attacks. Those ones that we could not fix their problems or the challenges of vulnerabilities through patching, and make sure there is heightened monitoring so that we don't lose focus upon them until we have the approval to do so. Because of the exception, we cannot go further. So after doing this project, the result was that the management was happy that we're able to deliver this project and reduce our cybersecurity exposure based on security score on Azure and other tools that we use. That was about 90%. We reduced it from that to what? 40%. And the management was happy because the remainder are the Linux related upgrade that we cannot do now because it will affect a lot of our businesses. And the management gave me a recommendation because it was money and value well spent. You can see the story, the way I've sold it. I've not even used 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, thank you, sir. So thank you for that. So one of my own stuff is about the recruiters when they call you. You know, when they call, they are not going to first tell you about the JD. They want to know about you. They just want you to talk.
Okay.
So how do we know that we have not passed the normal talking? Or, you know, that's my my question.
How do you know they have not passed the expected time to speak?
Yeah, to speak. Yeah, And what are the key points to
key points, you know, like we said, they've sent you the JD before,
no,
right?
They didn't send any JD.
They didn't send any JD.
Yeah,
then
that is
your elevator speech then.
Okay, thank you.
That is where your elevator speech comes in.
Okay.
So that you are telling them, I'm a security professional. I have vulnerability management experience. I have risk management experience. You know, you are reading out what you can do. They now say, okay, why have you applied for this job? I applied because of XYZ. Because you would know which role the person is calling you for. It will tell you, I'm advertising for this. And I know you have applied. Or if you have not applied, it's just coming from the blues to talk to you. Just tell them generally what you can do. And that is why when I'm doing that, I go generic, I go round. So they will now say, okay, for this I've mentioned, this is the role I'm looking for. Somebody to, oh, fine. I've done this for clients, so and so areas. I'm not saying it at all times to work, but most of the times it will definitely work. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
All right. Okay. So you have to create that story, then practice your delivery, run through your stories out loud, record yourself, record people, and listen to yourself and see, oh no, I effed up here. I need to change this word I used here. I'm too slow when I'm describing this. I didn't use the particular lingo here. Can I hire myself with what I've heard? Make sure you're speaking with confidence. As I'm speaking, I'm standing. Sometimes standing helps to bring out confidence when you're talking. Sitting sometimes might not help. If you don't have table riser, you can have table riser at home, do your interview for the sake of that. It helps a lot. So refine your phrasing, work on maintaining confident body language. Remember, I covered this. Your body language is important. And recall relevant experiences. When the interview begins, share your relevant star stories according to the question. You know, I told you, narrow that down to the basic, the one that you definitely need. And you can see if you use this well, they said you'll be 95% ahead of other candidates. So how do you ace interview? I've sent this before. I've shared it. Situation, task, action, result. It's all about the STAR method. And they said it's a success formula. Some people use CAR, different, context, action, result, right? STAR, if you want to use CAR, use CAR. Spend 3 hours preparing 10 star stories, 18 minutes per story. You'll outshine 90% of other, and generic responses don't impress interviewers. And authentic stories showcase your real experience. Try to be authentic. Sell yourself. Sell yourself. That is all about selling. And how to implement the Floscase formula. Key skills for the job: record relevant experience, structure stories using STAR, and practice. Simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see, keep your story 2 to 3 minutes max. They will ask you for more information, then you give them more. You can do a page for each of them, but just run through the intro. Have intro, introduction. This is what it's all about. You put your star along with it. You understand now? Introduction and then star. That's it. Give them the introduction and make your introduction powerful. So this is another one. Powerful storytelling. Why storytelling matters. If you don't know how to tell story, go and watch YouTube videos on storytelling. Prepare your stories. What is the job requirement for that story? Right? Make sure empathy shows there. Problem solving, time management, adaptability. Your story must have these reflections in them. And you present your story, CAR framework, context, action, and result. Context, action, and result. Describe the context of your story and the background. Example, at my previous job, there was a sudden budget cut in the middle of a project. Come up with your own story. Action, explain what you did. I negotiated with the vendor, reduce non-critical expenses, all these things. And then result, describe what you came up with. We delivered the project within the deadline, and management was satisfied. What do you need? This 5 little killer storytelling. Practice it. Practice your story to ensure if you have a wife that can critique very well, ask her to criticize you. Be authentic. Create your story, make it look authentic, adapt it, tailor your stories to the job description. I told you this, adapt it to the new job or every time. If you have these solid stories, I tell you, you are interview ready. You can do interview anywhere. Washing plate, you are interviewing because it is now yours. Be concise. So if you see any of this cartoon on the internet, it's the same thing that I'm telling you. They're just putting it in a format that looks presentable. I hope this makes sense to Ross.
So thank you, sir.
Yes, I can relate